I'd like to welcome everyone to the June 18th, 2018 Supervisors Meeting. I'd also like to wish all the fathers in here a happy belated Father's Day. Tonight's story is called The Dean Schooled Them. One night, 4 college kids stayed out late partying and having a good time. They paid no mind to the test they had scheduled for the next day and didn't study. In the morning, they hatched a plan to get out of taking their test. They covered themselves with grease and dirt and went to the dean's office. Once there, they said they had been to a wedding the previous night, and on the way back, they got a flat tire and had to push the car back to campus. The dean listened to their tale of woe and thought. He offered them a retest 3 days later. They thanked him and accepted his offer. When the test day arrived, they went to the dean. The dean put them all in separate rooms for the test. They were fine with this since they had all studied hard. Then they saw the test. It had 2 questions. First question was your name, and they got 1 point for that. Second question on the test was which tire burst. They could get 99 points for that one. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We've had no executive sessions since the last meeting. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the bill list? Are there any questions or comments? If none, I'll accept the motion.
I'll move to approve the bill list from June 1st to June 13th in the amount of $1,292,607.05.
I second that.
That's okay. It's okay. I have a motion and a second to approve the bill list from June 1st through June 13th in the amount of $1,292,607.05. All those in favor say aye.
Can we correct the motion? Can we correct the motion? 1 million, John, I'm sorry.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I apologize.
That's
for that.
okay.
$1,292,607.05. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting? Any questions, comments, changes? I'll entertain a motion for that.
I move to approve the minutes of the board's June 4th regular meeting.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of the board's June 4th regular meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Public comments. Any questions? Comments? Can you state your name and your address, please?
My name is Tom Grasso, 116 Fairfield Circle East. I have a brief statement I'd like to read. I'd like to take this time to remind the Board of Supervisors of the responsibility they have to all the members of, and residents of Upper Providence Township. That responsibility is to do what is in the best interest of all residents, not just to benefit those that maybe are a handful of their friends. There was recently a use variance application brought forth for the installation of a 100-foot cell tower on a property zoned residential. The township code clearly states communication towers are prohibited in a residential zone. The code also references a 75-foot height restriction for structures in a residential area as well. As is customarily the case, the township's planning commission reviewed the application. I think it's important we refresh ourselves with the duties and purpose of the planning commission, Quote, the Planning Commission's members review most development proposals for the township, working in conjunction with planning and zoning to determine a project's feasibility, impact on the surrounding area and traffic, and compliance with township codes. The Planning Commission submits development plans with their recommendations to the Board of Supervisors for approval, end quote. That's directly from the township's website. In this case, the Planning Commission did their work, reviewed the application, voted unanimously to recommend that this board oppose the application that I'm speaking of. And on 10/16/2017, this board did exactly that and voted unanimously to authorize the township solicitor to oppose the relief sought by the applicant in the zoning hearing board case 2017-07, Celco, DBA Verizon Wireless, on behalf of the residents. The applicant sought and was granted several continuances to the delay of their hearing, hoping to avoid the protests of residents. They later approached this board again on 11/20/2017 with minor changes to their application, hoping that the board would remove its opposition. The board sent them back to the Planning Commission to make their case. In that meeting, Mr. Barker stated that this board rarely, almost never, goes against the recommendation of the Planning Commission for as long as he's been on the board. The applicant again went before the Planning Commission, reviewed the application, changes and all, and again unanimously voted to recommend that the board oppose the application. However, on 2/5 of this year, surprisingly, in an unprecedented manner, this board voted and decided to withdraw the township's opposition and go against the recommendation of their own Planning Commission. Why would 3 brand new members, only 1 month into their new roles, reverse a decision made only a few months prior and countermand the recommendation of their own Planning Commission without really knowing the facts of the situation? It makes no sense to me. Mr. Pearson said that he wanted to remain neutral and was apt to let the hearing board do its job. In this same Board of Supervisors meeting, Mr. Pearson said to me and to other residents that we were free to make our case to the zoning hearing board. However, on multiple occasions, the zoning hearing board commissioner, Mr. Corey, prevented residents from asking follow-up questions of new information presented by witnesses stating, we already had a chance to ask a question. He even presented one of the board members, who eventually voted against the application, from asking questions during the hearing when the members' questions started to get into the proof of hardship. Mr. Pearson, other board members, you ran for your seats in 2017 on a platform of transparency. At the time, I believe you cited an inappropriate relationship between having a director of Parks and Recreation be employed by the township when that person was married to a township supervisor. However, members of the board have failed to disclose to the residents their own conflicts of interest. For example, Mr. Pearson voted to remove opposition, but failed to inform anyone that his longtime companion, with whom he shares a residence with, is a member of the zoning hearing board and voted in favor of the application. Mr. Bresnan stated in the 2/5 meeting that the applicant had the burden of proof to prove a hardship. I sat through every part of that meeting and searched for evidence of a hardship of either the property owner or the cell phone company, but none existed. It's shocking that our neighbors in Lower Providence Township came upon the exact situation, the exact same lawyer, citing the exact same issues, providing the exact same evidence, and yet they were protected, their residents were protected by unanimously voting against and denying the application. However, our township and our zoning hearing board, in spite of the applicant not proving any hardship existed, voted to approve this application. It's puzzling to me why the applicant was not instructed to research other sites within their search criteria that were not zoned residential. For example, one of the members of the zoning hearing board, who also sits in the Springford Area School Board, said that if they had contacted the school district would be open to discussions of a possible additional source of revenue. The applicant must prove that all avenues were exhausted, and it was not proven during this period. I'm not against progress. I'm not against cellular technology. I recognize the advances that are being made, the infrastructure that is being needed to meet these growing demands. However, cell towers do not belong in a residential area, period. And I know you all agree with me because you wrote it into our township code. There are plenty of other areas that could accommodate such requests. And by your same logic, I should be able to get relief from the township code for just about anything. including a 100-foot cell tower on my own property, simply because I want the rental income, and one day I'm going to retire as well. Everyone's actions have consequences, and I'd like to remind you of that. I strongly urge you to do the right thing for all the residents of this community, rather than just for a small group of well-connected cronies.
Can I make one comment about that, John? From a legal, I don't know if this is, from a legal perspective, I just wanted to comment on the solicitor participation in the zoning hearings. Generally, in my experience, I'm only sent to go to zoning hearings when the constitutionality or validity of the ordinance is challenged, and I'm going on behalf of the township to defend the validity of the ordinance. There are some municipalities that have a contentious relationship with their zoning hearing board and send the municipal solicitor often to oppose applications. But I would say in my experience, more often, the elected body wants to let the zoning hearing board do its job and not feel that it's being babysat on every application by sending the municipal solicitor. And of course, sending me doesn't assure the outcome anyway. But part of the conversation that we had with the board in deciding to back away was that idea that you didn't want them to feel that you were looking over their shoulder or babysitting them. And I know that that was a part of the conversation because I was here. On the issue of, I can't comment on I did get the written decision from Mr. Corey. I have not read through it yet. I certainly can't comment on how the hearing went or what was proven or what wasn't proven. I can say that generally the Planning Commission doesn't really even have authority. I too respect the Planning Commission. They do great and important work for a lot less credit. And but if you look at the municipality's planning code, I think there's even a question whether it's their place to recommend whether I participate in a zoning hearing. That's this board's decision to make. So I don't think there was anything unusual in that regard either. You made some personal attacks using the word crony at the end. That doesn't have anything to do with me, and I'll let John or anybody else speak for themselves if they wish to do that. But from a legal perspective, there was absolutely nothing unusual or crony-ish about not sending me to the zoning hearing board.
Any other questions or comments?
I'll just have to have a comment. Okay, I voted to send the solicitor to oppose it the first time, and I believe if you check the vote, I did not agree to vote for not sending the solicitor the second time. And in the 16 years I've sat here, we've sent the solicitor to many zoning hearing boards to protect the validity of our ordinances. And that's all I was asking to do. But it was voted the other way this time, so.
I don't think the ordinance was challenged this time.
But the ordinance states it was no hardship. The gentleman just said
Well,
the
that's
same
true.
thing. And that's what the planning commission went by. The planning commission recommended to send the solicitor. We at one point were following the planning commission. Now we are not following the planning commission, so.
Any other questions or comments?
How is that going to be resolved now?
If you have something to say, please come up to the mic, give us your name and your address, please.
I'm Ruben Sinti. My address is 1356
I'm
Black Rock
sorry,
Road.
I'm hard of hearing.
1356 Black Rock Road. The question is, how is that going to be revised, what the gentleman just said? The voting is going to be revised, or is it going to be a cell tower in somebody's house?
Well, that's two different questions. The hearing already happened, so obviously I can't participate in that. Any further challenges to that, if anybody appeals it, I don't know whether anyone sought party status. I don't know whether anyone sought to intervene. Since I didn't participate, those are the things I don't know. If somebody did, if somebody takes an appeal, that would just be on the record that already exists. There wouldn't be another hearing unless it were to go to court and the court for some reason found the hearing to be incomplete and sent it back.
Okay, but it seems like what they're asking to build goes against the code. So who's defending the code?
Well, the zoning hearing board, this elected body adopts the ordinances. The zoning hearing board interprets the ordinances. In reality, although there are people here tonight who didn't agree with the outcome, they're protecting it as much as this body is by deciding when relief is appropriate under the zoning ordinance.
Okay. And there's going to be news on this going around, or it's just somebody gonna pop up with the cell tower?
On the, well, I don't know that they've put in for permits yet. I mean, their process isn't over. They got the zoning relief that they needed.
So the township still has the ability to deny the permits?
No, I'm not saying that. You're saying would there be notice of it? The zoning relief might, I guess it hasn't even been 30 days from the ruling. So the zoning relief, you have to wait and see whether that gets appealed and challenged. That could go on for a long time. Then it would come back to the township for action.
Okay, thank you.
If I'm wrong here, but doesn't anybody that's a party to the zoning hearing board application have the right to appeal it to the Montgomery County Court?
Yes.
Okay.
If they
But
put
we
in
were
the-
not a party to the,
Well, you're automatically a party. You're always a party. You could, I mean, that's a separate issue. You're always a party, so you could always take that vote.
Wouldn't they have to personally appeal that? I mean, go to the zoning hearing board and say they want to be part of this action?
Generally, there are rules regarding when you can intervene on appeal and explain, if you live in close enough proximity, sometimes a court will let you have that relief even if you didn't participate below. If you participated below, you're automatically good on appeal and you don't have to argue whether you can appeal.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you, Joe. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Hi there. My name's David Moyer, 33 Sheffield Court. Is that loud enough? Sorry. Voice is kind of caught with allergies. I have a question around the email that the rec center sent out about the discontinuation of the fitness center. Can I ask those questions now or later?
I'm sorry, but I apologize, I can't hear you.
It's on the agenda.
That's on the agenda,
It's on
so
the agenda.
this section is for non-agenda
For the fitness
comments,
center,
and then
okay.
that'll come up on the agenda.
Okay, sweet. Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
Turn the mics up so you can hear us.
What did he say?
Just turn the lights up so you can hear us.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Well, my voice is loud enough to hear it.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Old business, consider adoption of Resolution 2018-27 to approve a preliminary subdivision and land development plan for Spears Lane.
Good evening. My name is Mike Clement, and I'm here with Mark Marino and Jeremy Hoagland to ask for preliminary final approval for the subdivision on Spears Lane. I believe that all of the requirements in the various letters that we discussed last time have been met. The only open issue is a fee in lieu of waivers. And I have discussed that with your solicitor, Mr. Bresnan, and with your engineer to a degree, Bill Dingman. So what we have proposed is a contribution of $55,000. $15,000 of that will be used in order to widen Spears Lane for a distance of 215 feet, which starts at approximately where the culvert is and then goes down Spears Lane toward the eventual termination with Route 29. But it would be for 60 feet, give or take, maybe longer, that is off of the property, and the distance which is between the property corner and the culvert, which is approximately 155 feet. But we're using those words approximately because the culvert is really where we want to start. We want to start at the culvert. We don't want to shortchange the township or ourselves, and we want to go 215 feet down from that. We will then put $40,000 into escrow to be used by the township as it desires for Spears Lane traffic improvements. However, if the township determines that at the end of the job there is to be an overlay on Spares Lane, we can do that much cheaper than the township, so we will do it and deduct from the $40,000 the cost of that. This is now the third time that I've gone to visit Spares Lane. And I think if I rode my pickup truck down Spares Lane with a load full of stone, it would break. So it hasn't been, I heard someone say it's been 17 or 18 years since there's been anything done with it. It needs to be overlaid. But if the township determines to take the $40,000 and use it for whatever, the intersection or whatever else, that's entirely up to you. So that's the proposition that I believe we have come to agreement on. If it's acceptable, we would like to ask you to approve the subdivision, both preliminarily and finally. The last point I'd like to make is that we're not exactly sure where that widening will be, so that when it's done, it will be part of, and I will state on the record, that it will become part of the as-built plan so that it will show definitively for anybody looking into the future as to what happened here, exactly where it is.
I think you've been very fair about this thing. I appreciate that. And I'm probably in favor of letting you do the work at the end of it, because you're right. We'll get more bang for our buck if you do the job at the end of it.
Yes.
Is that right, Bill?
Most likely.
Okay. I have no other further questions. I have no comments.
I have a couple questions. As far as the widening of the road, so you'll blend that nicely into the yards adjacent to, opposite of the property, right? Because I was down there talking to the residents, and the widening's good, but it'll blend nicely. It's not gonna be a drop-off because they have to cut the lawn. That's a concern, right? And there's a question about some trees, and that, and I talked to Mr. Dingman today. Can we work on, there's concern with the neighborhood where the trees are placed. So it may be a work in progress on where some of the trees will be placed. If we can work with the residents, you have a commitment that you'll do that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll put the number of trees in as required by the plan. You tell us where you want them.
All right. And as far as the intersection at 29, we're concerned there, and we've seen it, is the inability of a couple of cars to come in and out at the same time. So it's outside of the scope of this project, and I'd like a commitment from the board. It's pretty much in the resolution here that we're to keep the 40,000 at Spares Lane, so that it's used for the residents. But I'd like a commitment from the rest of the board here that in the next year, as this construction goes on, we look at the intersection and determine how we can improve it, whether widen it through some right-of-way, obtaining some right-of-way up there, so that we can make it so that a couple of more cars can run side by side. It makes it easier for them to come out. So there's 40,000, and even if it costs us a little bit more, whether or not we determine to pave the road, but I'd like a commitment from the board to work on that intersection.
I want to just confirm something. When you say the 40, it might not be because you might use some of that to finish paving the road. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so just to correct that,
Right.
it may be 15 in the end we'll have left, or,
But as if you say,
We say
you
pave the
choose
road
to
or not.
use it for paving the road.
Right.
That's your decision.
right.
We have 40.
So that's, I agree with you, Al, and sometime maybe during the budgeting process this year, we can look at the intersection there, take the money that we had that's gonna be left over from this
Yeah.
and put it towards that project and hopefully improve that intersection.
Do we have our engineers look into the specifics of what would need to be done? Is that
Absolutely.
something that we can do now? Right?
Have a look at it, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I will, there are a couple, my conversations with Mr. Clement and Mr. Dingman went right up until four something o'clock. So there's a couple more word changes to the resolution. I know we try to get these to you in the packet, but then the conversations keep going. It says preliminary at the top. That'll now be preliminary final because there's no conditions that have to be added. So final is okay. And as long as I'm making that change, there was one other change that Mr. Clement wanted, which was describing the 215 feet. I have it as 215 feet. You wanted to break it out to identify between the project feet and the off-site feet? Or
No,
is that-
you have it broken out, and I want it just to say 215 feet from the culvert. So that way you know you're going to get 215 feet of widening. We had it broken out at 155 plus 60.
Okay.
So just make it 215 feet from the culvert, that way you know what you're getting.
Okay. So it'll be that plus the title, and otherwise what you're looking at is the final version.
Okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
All right.
John, any public comment?
Oh. Ma'am,
Comment?
please come up to the phone.
George Malik, Spares Lane. I have a question for the attorney here. I got to understand this right. So he's saying he's going to take $40,000 that's going to be held in escrow to repair Spares Lane after the project's done? I mean, you clear that up for me.
Sure. What we're saying is that we're going to put $40,000 in escrow with the township. We're not holding it. The township is. If the township determines at the end of the job they would like us to do some overlaying, then whatever it costs, we'll send a bid in. It'll be reviewed by Mr. Dingman, and the cost of it will be taken out of the $40,000. If, on the other hand, the township feels that they want to put that on their own agenda down the road, that $40,000 gets spent for Spares Lane, according to what I understand Mr. Vinozzi said, to go toward the intersection. But it's the
Okay.
$40,000 goes to the township.
I'm still unclear. Hold on. I'm still unclear here. Like, if you're doing damages to the road by bringing concrete trucks, building material trucks, et cetera, in, so your guys, because of the heavy truck traffic, damage the road, why should that come out of the $40,000 that you guys are putting up for?
Do you own a business?
Yes, I do.
Do you own a business back there?
Absolutely.
Do you run trucks on it?
Very seldom.
You do. You do run trucks on it, do you
I
not?
do.
Okay, I know you do, because I know. I've been back there a lot of times.
Right. But they're not traxel trucks.
However, trucks are meant to run on roads. Roads will deteriorate. If that road were in good shape, it would not deteriorate from the trucks we're going to use. It needs to be overlaid now. You know it. I know it. I've been down
So-
there 3 times.
All right, so the road will be in the same condition when you're done
No.
than it is now.
No, it won't. It can't be, because it's already deteriorated.
Okay,
It's
so
gonna
who's
deteriorate
paying
even
for
more.
that?
It's going to come out of the $40,000 if they want it to, or else it's going to be done as it should have been done.
Well,
Sir, if I
who is
can, I
rebuilt?
think you're operating from the assumption that they could be forced to pave the road separately from the
I'm
escrow
just
money.
asking who's paying for the damages to the road.
And what I'm answering your question, you can't, it'd be very difficult to commit an applicant to a whole new road on a road that hasn't been paved in 17 years and is on the list to be paved, and then
Okay,
tell them.
so will the supervisors commit that we're gonna get a decent
Here's-
road
here's
after
what
the
I'm-
fact?
Here's what the resolution calls for. The money stays at Spares Lane. The $40,000 stays at Spares Lane. The township decides, after Mr. Burrito's project is nearing, as it's getting near to the end, do they want to put Spares Lane on a list as part of a bid project and go out and pave it, which then costs more because prevailing wage applies, or have the part of the 40,000 used for that job? In the one scenario, the whole 40,000 could then be used for other things. In the other scenario, you get a new road out of it that it's questionable whether you could force the applicant to do on his own, given the current condition of the road. If it were a new road today and he busted it all up, then of course, he has to put it back like he saw it, found it.
Okay,
Either
All
way,
right.
we're going to make Spares Lane whole again.
okay,
Either
so
way.
I guess another question was that there were some trees that were in an existing turnaround right now that's down by the telephone pole across from Red Barn at 188 Spares Lane.
Yeah.
And we're gonna request that those trees not be put in there because of a couple of reasons. One of which, there's a sewer right away there that your township needs
Okay.
to access to get back to your manholes. And the other thing is that township trucks, mail, FedEx, UPS, trash trucks, all use that as a turnaround right now. And it's been that way for 60-plus years, and I've requested that those trees be relocated somewhere else. Also, that any mature trees that can remain standing on that site remain. The property is full of mature trees, some of which are decent, some are not, but we'd like to see some mature trees stay.
I think that's fine. I think they'll abide by that. You'll just have to mark if you guys will abide by that, no problem. He just has to mark the trees that he thinks should
Depends
be
on if
taken down.
it's on the
Depends on where
house.
the location of the trees are. I always say this at public meetings. Trees are valuable to developers. People who move into houses want nice, healthy trees. Developers do not take trees down that are nice and healthy that they can save because they make more money off of them by selling their houses that way. But yes, of course, we will save whatever we can because it makes money for the developer.
So I have to say thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Pearson, if I could, the turnaround that he was speaking of, that's not going to be used for a turnaround anymore.
So you will not be using that as a turnaround?
No, I'm saying the mail trucks and the FedEx trucks will not be using the spot that this gentleman's talking about for a turnaround. That is going to be somebody's yard.
It'll be stormwater management area also.
Okay,
So
all right,
Designed to be a turnaround in the future.
okay.
that's what I was commenting on the last meeting, that the proposed project will give FedEx, mail, township the ability to turn around. Today, it does not exist.
Okay. So then they won't have to use that supposedly turnaround that they've been using all of these years. Do you understand what he said?
I understand what he said, I don't necessarily agree with it.
Well aware.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Ma'am?
Good evening. My name's Lynn Newman. I live at 193 Spears Lane. My question for this evening is, how many days a week are they planning to work, and what are the hours that they are allowed to work?
Whatever the ordinance allows, we'll abide by the ordinance.
And what is that ordinance?
Bill, do you have that off the top of your head?
I don't have a number.
That would be the noise ordinances. What you,
I want to say it's 11P to 6A.
is none. So
And they're allowed to work 7 days a week and interrupt us at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 days a week until the project's finished?
That's what the noise ordinance permits.
Okay, is there any variance that could be done for that, so that we're not woken up at 6 a.m. 7 days a week for the next 2 years? We have people that work from home, we have people that work nights. That's a lot to ask for us to be woken up every morning at 6 a.m. We deserve at least 1 day of peace.
I can't answer that.
we're a little premature to include that in this approval resolution. As you get closer to permits, that's something that we can discuss with the applicant to see if there's any leeway there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2018-27 to approve a preliminary subdivision and land development plan for Spears Lane. Is it preliminary or final?
It's both.
Okay.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve or adopt Resolution 2018-27 to approve preliminary final subdivision and land development plan for Spears Lane. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
New business, receive update on planned programmatic changes to the Township Recreation Center. Tim, would you like to take this, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I timed this earlier today. This is a scripted presentation, so it's about 21 minutes.
Okay.
So assuming I go a little faster, it might be around 20. And I'll be happy to take questions after the presentation. No doubt many of you are here this evening to voice your concerns over the Township Administration decision after due consultation with the Board of Supervisors to make some programmatic decisions with respect to the future operations of the Township Recreation Center. Before I get started, however, I would like to dispel some disinformation that is out there. First, we are not closing or padlocking the Recreation Center. Rather, we are looking to expand the center's reach to a greater segment of the township population as opposed to the small segment that the center currently serves. Secondly, there's also a rumor out there that we have plans to dismantle the Recreation Department entirely and to eliminate it altogether from the township budget. Nothing could be further from the truth. Township administration views it as our cardinal responsibility to make sure that all our township departments operate at peak efficiency. My motto, our staff's motto, has always been to provide the best possible service at a cost-effective price. Our goal this evening is to lay out a vision that accomplishes just that, to ensure the development of a vibrant, creative, and forward-thinking recreation department that serves the community's needs at a cost-effective price. That is why we're excited to provide this vision, starting with some decisions and recommendations that we have made with respect to the Recreation Center. Presentation this evening will focus on 5 major categories. Number one is we're going to talk first about the recent department reorganization in the Recreation Department, then identifying the challenges and barriers impeding success at the center, discussing the establishment of goals for a successful recreation program, then reviewing township staff recommendations, and finally we'll end the presentation by discussing a roadmap and target dates for implementation. Starting with the 2018 budget, we reorganized the Recreation Department, creating a new Director of Recreation and Special Events position. After a competitive search outside, we hired Mrs. Jennifer Steffenauer, who was given a specific charge by the Township Manager's Office to audit the center's financial operations, to review past recreation program studies, to analyze demographic changes, to evaluate programming trends in other communities and the private sector, and critical to what we're discussing this evening, to study the membership composition of the Recreation Center. In her first few months on the job, Jen has exceeded our expectations and has wasted no time in rolling up her sleeves and diving down into the operational details of our Recreation Center. Jen has made some important observations about the center's overall utilization. We would be remiss if we did not bring some of these issues before the board. So Jen, thank you very much for a job well done, and we're glad that you are here as part of our team. Thank you. We have identified 5 major challenges and barriers to why the fitness center, particularly the fitness center component, is not thriving in Upper Providence Township. First and foremost, and we're going to talk about all 5 of these challenges and barriers, but first and foremost, we believe we are focusing on the wrong program areas in the township. Second, we have facility limitations, which we'll talk about. Third is the proliferation of private sector competition within the region. Fourth are our marketing challenges. And 5, finally, economically speaking, there's an insufficient return on investment, commonly known as in the private sector as ROI. We'll be discussing that. Perhaps the most important challenge that we identified is that for the past several years, we have been focusing our programs in the wrong program areas, which directly impact the center's utilization rate. Let's take a look at the township's current population to understand better our service area. This graph shows the township's population changes over the past several decades. While the official federal census is done every 10 years, we do have the ability to project our current population by documenting new developments and housing starts. We believe our current 2018 population stands at around 23,583 and is expected to eclipse 25,000 residents by 2020. Let's compare this now to the actual membership breakdown. This is the current membership breakdown of the center. It's probably a little hard to read, but I'll just go over. We have 12, the way we do our membership breakdown, we have visit passes, daily passes, 30-day memberships, additional youth memberships, adult full facility annual memberships, senior adult full facility membership. We have what's called a silver and fit membership, silver sneakers membership, teen facility membership, youth facility, adult program, senior program, and youth program. As you can see here, the center currently has a total of 772 members. 201 of those members, 201 of that 772 are non-residents, and 571 are residents. Based on a projected population of around 23,583, less than 3% of the township's residents utilize the center, and not all of these individuals are full-paying members, and we'll go over a little bit that in detail later. The second challenge that we identified are the current facility limitations of the current recreation center. Other fitness centers offer amenities such as a better selection of equipment, locker rooms and showers, saunas and pools, expanded babysitting services, extended hours, indoor walking tracks, on-demand classes. Those are just a sprinkling of some of the other programs offered in other areas. And the square footage restrictions of the building simply do not provide the flexibility to provide all these extra amenities. We believe these facility restrictions also drive the low utilization rates, especially given the wide array of fitness opportunities offered by other private sector establishments. And this brings us to our third challenge and barrier, and that is private sector competition. Since the Recreation Center opened in 2011, it has directly competed with an increasing number of fitness centers that have proliferated in the greater Upper Providence Township region. The following list is a list of 32 fitness facilities located within 2 miles of Upper Providence borders. The location markers are the actual post office codes assigned to each of these establishments, and we're pretty sure that there are more out there, but these are the ones that we identified. The areas in yellow are the ones that are based within Upper Providence Township's boundaries. We have the ones within our boundaries are LA Fitness, Metamorphic, Orange Theory, Your Yoga, Philadelphia Rock Gym, Retro Fitness, and 9 Round Fitness are the ones we identified within the boundaries. Using Google Earth, we've mapped out the location of each of the 32 facilities mentioned on the previous list. You can readily see that the market is saturated with all sorts of fitness establishments. This saturation divides the market share in such a way that only the best facilities with all the desired amenities will survive. And that leads us to our fourth challenge and barrier, and that being marketing challenges. The board and staff generally agree that the township does need to improve its marketing initiatives on all its services, but we believe that this would have a minimal impact on giving the recreation center any competitive edge to what's offered already in the private sector. About 11 years ago, the township commissioned a community center feasibility study. The study made an important statement regarding health club establishments, which bears repeating. Private sector health clubs hope to capture, this is a quote, private sector health clubs hope to capture between 10% and 15% of a market area, generally in a 3 to 5 mile radius of the club. Public sector facilities target a market of 20% to 30% of an area within a 15 to 20-minute driving distance. With over 32 fitness center establishments located within a 2-mile radius, it's clear that the township doesn't even come close to hitting these marketing targets. This market saturation leads us to our final and fifth challenge, and that is the required operational and capital costs required to maintain the township's fitness center and the insufficient return on investment. We recently conducted an internal audit of the fitness center component of the recreation center. In 2018, we are projected estimating revenues at around $87,500. The 2018 estimated expenses are $360,740 given the current state of operations. Add to the projected $38,000 capital costs For the 3-year lease renewal, that's $38,000 per year to enter into a new 3-year lease renewal for new fitness equipment at the recreation center. The deadline for the lease renewal is at the end of this month, which prompted us to conduct this efficiency study and led us to make some of the decisions we've made regarding the fitness center. When you factor in both the net operating costs and these additional capital costs, you have an estimated shortfall of over $311,240. Now, when you divide this estimated shortfall among various membership categories, you can calculate fairly easily the annual per member loss that we're sustaining. For the purposes of this presentation, we focused on 4 membership categories. When factoring in both resident and non-resident memberships, you have a total census count of 772 members, resulting in a per member shortfall of about $403. This represents about 772 represents about 3.2% of the township's population. When factoring in just township residents, we have a total census count of 571 members, resulting in a per unit per member shortfall of about $545. These 571 members represents about 2.3% of the township's overall population. When factoring in township residents less the silver sneaker members, we have a total census count of 433 members, resulting in a per member shortfall of around $719. And these 433 members represents 1.8% of the township's population. Lastly, when considering only paid resident memberships, we have a census count of 347 paying members, resulting in a member shortfall of around $897. This represents 1.5% of the township's population. So regardless of how we look at the per membership shortfall, be it $403 per member, $545 per member, $719 per member, or $897 per member, it is clear that the current recreation center model is underutilized. Looking at this from another perspective, of the projected 23,853 township residents, over 23,000 of our residents are subsidizing each paying member by around $897 when you're looking at the 347 paying members. One important point that we're trying to emphasize here is we're not trying to find an excuse to eliminate the $417,000 recreation center budget, which currently serves only 2% of the population, but rather applying this money to programs that will touch a much larger segment of the population. To achieve this goal, we've developed a list of 10 goals and benchmarks for success that we'd like to leave you and the board this evening. Goal number 1 is don't compete with the private sector in any particular program where the private sector offers these services more efficiently. Number 2, develop more non-fitness programs that are flexible and address the needs of a larger township demographic. And on that particular item, there's a sub-point I'd like to make. 27% of the township's population is under 18. We currently have no programs tailored specifically to this age group. 3, establishing goals for success. The third goal is to promote special events and activities throughout the entire Upper Providence and County Park system. Our fourth goal is to remove the membership structure and rebrand the center as a township-wide community center for all its residents. Number 5 is to offer expanded programs at the new Black Rock Municipal Campus and the old Township Meeting Hall, which will be available soon. And number 6, explore long-term alternatives for the newly rebranded community center and explore regional partnerships. A 7th goal is to continue to serve the Silver Sneakers members in the same capacity that they are currently served. There's also a rumor out there that we're getting rid of the Silver Sneakers programs, which is not true. We are going to continue the Silver Sneakers program. Number 8, expand offerings of special events to garner family and community support. 9, renew emphasis on modernizing our park playgrounds throughout the township and offer varied events in all the township's parks and open areas. One thing that Jen and I are really trying to strive for is not just focusing on this spot that we're in right now, but is to have program opportunities throughout all of our park systems. And number 10, we want to continue and expand programs in areas in which we have been successful. And this is just a sampling of some of our successful programs. These would be community bus trips, concerts, summer camps, movies in the parks, special events and seasonal programs, and then Community Day, which will be coming up sooner than we think. Moving now on to our Township Administration recommendations. What we're planning on doing is establishing new, and this is the letter that members received in their mail, establishing new operating hours for the Recreation Center. Effective July 1st, 2018, the center's new hours will be 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 8 to 8 on Friday, and 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on weekends. We'll have new babysitting hours from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Monday and Tuesday. We are recommending, and I referenced this earlier, that we are faced with a deadline to sign a renewal for our fitness center lease. We are recommending that we do not renew the $150,000 lease for the new fitness equipment at the center. Rather, we would like to work with the solicitor in negotiating an extension to the existing lease through December 31st of 2018. We would like to discontinue the membership structure altogether. We'll continue offering 30-day membership packages through December 31st, 2018. Memberships expiring before December 31st, 2018 will be extended without charge, and memberships expiring after December 31st, 2018 will qualify for prorated refunds. And then we also want to begin to transition to offering new community-wide programs in 2019. Developing popular programs that will permeate a larger segment of the township population. And also, and this is very important, we feel it's important that we conduct a statistically accurate and random survey of residents to ensure a proper mix of programming that meets the diverse needs of Upper Providence's demographic. And then we're going to leave you with our final graph is a proposed timeline and target dates starting July 1st to early 2019. Implementing new operating hours, our target date there is July 1st, 2018. Surveying our community and developing new programs. That'll be part of a process that'll be starting now. We'll be continuing through our 2019 budget deliberations, concluding around December 31st as we get ready to adopt a new budget. Converting our recreation center to the community center, with our in-house public works laborers and stuff, we feel we can have that ready by February 1st of 2019. We're going to have to deal a lot of things regarding the restructuring of recreation personnel. That will be, those programs will be happening between July and December 31st. Our Black Rock Municipal Campus, we expect, will be opening for new programs in conjunction with the rebranding of this facility on February 1st of 2019. We're looking at refurbishing the Old Township Meeting Hall that will provide larger venues for larger types of activities. That's planned sometime in 2019. We don't have a specified date on that. We'll be launching a new Silver Sneakers program in January 1st of 2019. A lot of this will be fleshed out as we go through our budget hearings, budget deliberations starting in September. And then with the final, hopefully we're looking at this new community center opening February 1st of 2019. Was that 20 minutes?
Tim, thank you very much for the presentation. I'd just like to say again, some of the things that Tim had spoken about, we are not closing the facility. We're repurposing the facility. It's not about the money. It's about servicing more of the residents of this township. It's not about just a recreation facility. It's about a lot of other things. There will be a lot of other programs that are going to be offered to a wider variety of, or I should say, a wider section of the residents. So that's what we're looking to do. Again, I say it's not always about the money. Recreation will always be an expense, but we have to be aware of the expense that what we are spending on this, and we want to spend it wisely. So if anyone has any questions or comments they'd like to make, please come up to the microphone here. Please state your name and your address. We will make every attempt to answer your question. We may not be able to answer all of the questions that you have for us, but if we don't answer them, we will get an answer for you.
I am Lindsay Olanoski. I have been a member here for, I think, 5 years. I'm actually about to go work out shortly. Couple questions. You answered that you're looking for basically population percentage expansion usage. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's the goal. What programs, you keep saying you're going to have new programs. What are they?
Well, we haven't decided on what particular programs we're going to go. This thing isn't,
Okay.
this isn't going to take, listen, it's a matter of timing on this, okay?
Sure.
The object of, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to switch the facility and in the process, doing it now, take the next 6 months to do this. So we have there's been a lot of suggestions about different programs out there. We're looking at everything. If you have any suggestions for programs, we'd like to hear about them.
So I'm guessing part of the problem you mentioned was marketing. What are you going to do differently?
Well, it's difficult to market a facility that's lacking, okay? The facility here does have its limitations. That's one of the problems that we've come across.
So I agree. Now, I also think you have this wealth of people who hang out on a playground right outside your facility.
Yeah.
You don't even have a community board. And you're telling me that you couldn't figure out a way to get more people to come in, and you're going to change it over, and you have, from what it sounds like, no programs in place to even start to tell people are going to happen. You don't have a true marketing plan. I support this changing if it's all for the better, and I understand you want more people to participate, but it sounds like there's no real plan
If I can
in
answer,
place except for to change.
if I can answer that, the reason we're doing this now is this is something that's going to be effect for January 1st, 2019. One thing we didn't want to do was go through the budget process and make all these decisions in November and then go forward in January and not have a chance to hear from people like yourself. We don't have, I'll be the first one, Jen will be the first one to say, we don't have all the answers and we're looking for feedback for good programs. Sarah Sato is one of our program coordinators. We're actively looking at engaging what works in other towns and have some good programs. I'll go over a list. Let me go over some lists of some ideas. Maybe this will generate some other ideas. Some of the ideas that we have here is for the spring, we're looking at who lives in your backyard, animal education, fly fishing for beginners, mosquito awareness seminar, how to prevent mosquitoes in your backyard, mother-daughter tea party, gardening, what plants are best for your garden, how to grow your own spice garden, gardening club, rain gardens, nature club, Arbor Day, Earth Day, recycling seminar, trail cleanup, and park cleanup for spring. Summer, I'd like to, let me just go through some of the ideas here. National Parks and Recreation Month in the summer, National Trails Day, National Get Outside Day, Daddy-Daughter Dance, Girl and Doll Picnic, gardening, bird watching, geocaching, is that what it's called? Geocaching for beginners, family campfire, 5K fun, community center open house. In the fall, photography classes, book club, toddler time, sing-along, kids author, creative corner. Just the whole reason this list is we have done a lot of brainstorming and we have a lot of ideas on the plate and we want more ideas.
So these are great, and I have 2 children, and I would happily participate. My children know the people who are here, but you haven't even tested the waters with any of these programs, truly, with any real marketing, to know if that's even going to reach the population percentages and groups you want.
Some programs will fail, some programs will succeed, and we're going to do the trial and error, what works best for the community. And we're more than willing to take risks and chances. And what we know is what we're doing now as far as fitness is done.
Okay. So really, the whole point of this is just to say, you're giving all of us a voice. Nothing is going to change your minds. And if we have any ideas for programs, then to let you know.
Please
Great.
let us know whatever programs you would like, absolutely.
Okay.
We're open, we're open.
Tim, can I just ask you a question? You said we don't have a plan going forward yet. We have a lot of ideas, but you have scheduled in here the Public Works Department to come and do something in the building, obviously. So there must be a plan to do something that I'm not aware of.
No, nothing definitive. What we do know is that part of the work that the Public Works Department will be required is we'll be deconstructing the fitness component for other activities. One component that's been brought up that we're exploring is to having some toddler gyms and some in-house play areas that would augment the outdoor play area in the summers when it gets to be 100 and 105 degrees for parents and young kids. So that's one thing we're looking at.
Have we explored the outright purchase of, some of the equipment over there belongs to the township. It's not all rental equipment. Has it been explored to either purchase and supply our own equipment rather than leasing the volume of it? To keep some semblance of a fitness center. I mean,
We do own some of the equipment.
I know
That we're keeping, absolutely.
Have we explored, instead of renting it? We
do own some of the equipment in the fitness room.
To my knowledge, we're getting out of we're not really going into the fitness center component. I mean, that decision, I think, is pretty much, we do not want to compete with the private sector in that area.
Why not? You're assuming that the private sector.
Well,
Wait a minute.
I would like to point that because I disagree.
Excuse me, ma'am, excuse me. There's a gentleman here before you. If you'd like to get up in line here, please do so. We'll listen to whatever it is that you have to say. Fred?
It's Fred Shell, 532 Hollow. Now, my question on the numbers that you gave, is that the number that come through this front door?
No. What we went over by actually people who are on our system, full members who are payment.
Now, the recreation group, is the ball fields under the recreation group? All these other fields part of the recreation group?
This presentation was focused only on the recreation center, not the parks programs or park and recreation program.
The cost of the recreation, is that everything? Is that all the
This
employees?
presentation was only focused on this facility only, not ball fields and that's a whole other discussion.
Well, because, it seems like you took a small group that come through the door and use this facility and not the whole the recreation group is all the fields, the skate park, which
That's correct.
I
but
know they just spend a lot of
that was
money.
that was not the focus of this presentation tonight. This was focused on only the recreation center itself to make sure that it's open up.
The only room you're planning on closing is this room right over here.
The only decision that's been made to date is that we're getting out of the fitness center business. We're not competing with other private sector operations.
And I understand why you're not giving the Silver Sneakers group, keep them, because you make money on the Silver Sneakers. You bill the insurance company every time a Silver Sneaker person comes through the door.
We make some money, but not a lot.
No, I'm not saying a lot. Township's not in business to make money.
That's correct.
Keep in mind also that if the same person comes into the building in 24 hours more than once for Silver Sneakers, the fitness center does not get reimbursed for the second visit within 24 hours.
But you're making more money off the Silver Sneakers than you would off a regular year membership. Your membership is $10 a month, roughly. Silver Sneakers, you're getting paid $3 every time they walk in the door.
Unless
So if
they come in twice in 24 hours.
What's that?
Unless they come in twice in 24 hours.
Yes, but they normally come, I'll say, 3 times a week, so that's.
Wasn't it like $6,000 for the year? that was the silver sneakers. Not that that's nothing, but it
But I understand why you're not giving the silver sneakers up. You're making money off of that. Not a lot of money. You're making money off of it. And I just don't.
It's also a popular program, and we don't want to discontinue programs that are doing well. The programs that we have,
You're making money off of them.
we're making,
Well, you're not losing money off of
Can I clarify something with regard to the Silver Sneakers program? With discontinuing the, sorry. With discontinuing the fitness center equipment, we will no longer be able to participate in the Silver Sneakers program the way we do currently. So we will not get reimbursed. It won't go through the insurance companies anymore. The commitment that I believe we have from the board is that we will continue to offer the Silver Sneakers program under a little bit of a different name. We can't call it Silver Sneakers, but the goal is to still provide that same type of class that they're used to and retain experts.
Is it insurance reimbursable, though, if we change this?
No.
form?
No.
so we won't be making money from the silver sneakers group moving on.
Okay, well, you learned something. I didn't know how it was working. And the only thing I can say, don't forget what happened to the Pottstown Y. You know, the YMCA was a group to help the community, and they turned to money, money, money.
Thank you, Fred. Ma'am?
May I?
Yes.
Karen Vogel from 19 Argyle Lane in Oaks, and I have been a resident of the township for almost 25 years with my family. I have been a user of the gym facility here. I love it. It is clean, the equipment is excellent, and it has everything that I need. I don't want a pool, I don't need anything else but that room. And I am amazed that that is not a priority for the township to keep its citizens healthy so that they can work, they can pay their taxes, and so on. Everything else that you've mentioned, butterflies and other things, I mean, that's all terrific. But I think that one of the goals of the township should be the health of the community. And having this fitness center that you're so in a rush to get rid of is a terrible mistake. The other thing that I would mention is, when I'm in there, there's always some other people in there. Sometimes it's more crowded, sometimes a little less so. I'm never the only one in there. However, I would think you might be able to take away some equipment and leave most of it, if that would help with the bottom line. Because when I'm in there, for instance, with the treadmills, I have never seen everyone use simultaneously. And the same with the ellipticals. That may be a cost-cutting method, idea that you should evaluate before getting rid of something like this. Also, when companies come into the area and you want to attract businesses, a wonderful thing to reach out to the companies is, well, we have these things from our township. We have a top-notch, clean, well-taken care of, professional fitness center.
yeah, we looked at, if I could respond to that, we did look into GSK and some of our other, a lot of those facilities have their own fitness establishments.
They may, but then people may not always want to use those. They may also want to use something else. The other thing is, I went to many other fitness centers before joining this one. And I can tell you this one is cleaner, nicer, the equipment was superior, and that's why I picked it. In fact, some in this township, and I will not say which ones, were not too clean. Also, I did check out, before I joined this one, I checked out the Y. I don't know if you priced the Y, but the Y is $66 a month, plus it's $100 to join. So it's quite a bit of money a year, far more than the township. The other thing is you could raise your fees somewhat also to make it a more lucrative venture, or to increase the amount of money that you're bringing in, as well as perhaps removing some of the equipment to cut costs. The other thing is, you mentioned, well, we should not compete with any private sector. Well, you run camps, you have movies, there are trips, there are many things that the township does, and I think rightfully so, that also private companies do. But that does not prevent the township from doing those things. And I think it's a terrible mistake to remove and get rid of such a fantastic fitness and gym center that you have. And I will say people love it. They talk to each other. It's a whole community building thing. And it seems to be pretty nicely used. And if it's not being marketed correctly, do so. Let people know.
It's not about marketing, you know.
We hear by ear. We don't see it on any notices. We heard all by ear.
Hi, I'm Claudia Chiefo, and I live at 245 Cider Mill Road. I've been a member here for about 6 years, and I wanted to know if any of you have received the 2 petitions that are going around about this.
I've seen one.
We did. I saw one, actually, yes.
Okay, there's 2 going around. The one has over 100 signatures. Okay, that must tell you something. And what is the breakdown of the 300,000 overspend? What is that?
Richard?
Yeah, we didn't break it down. We'll break it down.
I can break it down for you. A lot of overstaffing, people sitting here on their phones, people eating their dinner, people not doing their jobs. I've come here when there's 5 staff members and 1 client. Why are we paying these people to sit around? And
Ma'am, did you just say that you've been here when there were 5 employees here and
Yeah.
only 1 person in the building?
yeah, me.
That's
Yes.
one of the reasons why we're switching gears here.
But why should we pay for your mismanagement?
It's not about mismanagement,
It's
ma'am.
clearly
It's about the
about
participation, it's about the lack of participation in this facility.
Okay.
And
I
the
wanna
equipment,
know-
and the equipment stays, the equipment stays well, it doesn't get abused because it's not getting used, okay? You know, we did the,
Hang on. First of all, people, decorum, please. There's somebody at the microphone. Second of all, this is not a trial. It's not how many of you do this and how many, like the other woman before you, it's a chance to offer, it's a chance to offer comments. It's a chance to offer comments on the issue that's at hand. It cannot turn into a grilling of demanding each person of what their personal habits are. It's going too far.
Okay, I'm not done. Okay. Why was there no marketing done before now? Mr. Barker? Why was there no marketing?
Mr. Chairman, if I could speak, this is public comment, not Q&A, okay? And I don't think any of us should be put in a position. So offer your comment, offer your comment.
I'll offer a reply if why are you asking me why there was no marketing done?
Because management of 6 years did no marketing, did nothing to improve this place, and now you have hired someone and expected it to turn around in a matter of 3 months.
I don't believe that's the case.
I do believe that's the case. Okay, I'm still not done. Have you looked at the...
Ma'am, do not ask questions. You can do your public comment, but this is not Q&A.
Tim, I'm a taxpaying citizen, and I will do what I'd like to do.
No, that's not so. The meetings are run pursuant to rules of order. There's a sergeant at arms. There's people who keep the peace at these meetings. It is completely incorrect to say that you do what you please. You've been politely told that your position is to offer comments. Those are still welcome.
Okay. The age group that you're targeting is not appropriate. We are not children. We are not parents of children. We are middle-aged citizens who want to stay healthy. And you're taking away a very integral part of that. The price of all your competitors is extremely expensive. $49, $59, Orange Theory, $140. No treadmills, you have to go to classes. And it's curious to me, and this is a comment, why during the management change, people were here and never intermingled with the staff, the clients, never asked us what we wanted. And you know who I'm talking about. That person came in, shut their door, never said a word to anybody. And now this person is making decisions that is taking away something that all of us want to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you.
gym since the day it opened. I am a Silver Sneakers member. Every time I come here, which is 5 days a week, my insurance pays you $3. I believe there's a cap at $30 a month. That comes out to $360. If I have a 2-week vacation, I am still providing you with the equivalent of 3 senior memberships, so that you do benefit from my being Silver Sneakers. Silver Sneakers does not permit membership unless there's a fitness center. So while I understand that you do not want questions, how are you going to service this group that you can no longer be called Silver Sneakers, and how will you pay for their classes?
As you saw the evening progress, it's not that there's never any question that comes along during the course of the comments and some have been answered. It's more the attack mode cross-examination that we're steering clear from.
I think some of that comes from the fact that this hit all of us as a total shock and surprise. None of us were asked our one thing about this. I don't think that's a very
And if I,
positive way to do this.
just to reemphasize, we're not discontinuing the Silver Sneakers program. We are continuing it in a different format, but we are not.
How will that be paid for?
The township will be covering that cost.
So they
Yeah.
will be covering the cost of the
That's going to be part of our programming expenses that we'll be looking at preserving. That's a component that's successful, and that's something we will intend to continue.
That would be expensive. I mean, I assume you're going to pay instructors.
It's a service that we feel is a value that should be budgeted.
And you have worked it out, and you know that the money that you receive from a Silver Sneakers insurance program is
You're getting into the technical, but Jen, I'll let you speak to that.
As far as we'll continue the program. If you're for someone who participates in the Silver Sneakers program, the township will continue to provide that service starting January 1.
I'm here for the fitness center. The that's what my insurance requires.
But-
That's what every Silver Sneakers.
That's right. So the township will forego that reimbursement from the insurance company that we receive presently,
And I will join.
and we'll continue the programs.
But I will take classes at the next place I go to, because I certainly am not going to come back here when I have a Silver Sneakers
And,
policy
yeah.
that reimburses you quite well.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Tom Chemsarski, 4 Buckthorn Lane. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to start with a question. But the membership here, at least the Upper Providence Township residents membership is 571 residents. Where did the other 23,000 residents go for fitness? Just to kind of ask the question, what really is the market share you're looking at? I would like to go back to the first young lady that spoke today, and she talked about marketing, and I think her point was right on, as well as others to refer to the same. I joined this facility in January of 2017. It has not been 6 months yet. This facility is the best kept secret in the whole township. I would like to comment about the staff. When I came in here, the first person I saw was Kim at the front desk. And from then on, whether it was Kim, Caitlin, Sarah, Maureen, the instructors, Arlene, Chris, Gina, so on and so forth, all of them are warm, welcoming, friendly. It's a pleasure to be here. Someone else made the comment that this place is community. It is community. There are my key points. Some of your finances, the leased equipment. What specifically what equipment are you looking at getting rid of because of a lease termination?
The equipment that's on the lease is all of the cardiovascular equipment, the treadmills, ellipticals, I'm blanking on what else is in that room, the bikes, all of the cardiovascular equipment.
So the life cycle fitness machines, the free weights, that will all be available?
Those are not part of the lease.
Will that part of the fitness center continue?
My understanding is that it will not.
Any good reason?
Now we're getting into the grilling.
Well, obviously. And look at the people that are here that are dissatisfied with the decisions that have been made to move forward to close the fitness center.
Well, I think it's okay for you to say you haven't heard a reason you agree with and you don't think there's any good reasons.
No,
But then
sir.
when you turn it around and
No,
say any
sir.
good reason,
No,
it's when you've
sir.
crossed the line.
No, sir, no, sir, no, sir. I did not say that at all. I'm just saying that there's a strong representation of people that are dissatisfied with the decision that has been made and how things are moving forward, again, without the residents really having a chance to share their opinion. Let's see, there may have been one other comment here. I would say that's pretty much it. My other question was, what type of programs are you going to fill, and along with the photography and things that you get at, like, you know, high school evening classes or something? But that's, good luck.
Good evening, I won't be the one, I also noisy one over there.
Your name and address.
Oh, well, it's Jeff Granito, I'm at 129 Gateshead Way, and I do have a question, it's a simple one. Before I speak for 20 minutes, is this a final done deal? And is anything we say tonight going to have any impact on the outcome? And be honest.
I'll be honest with you. We need to go in a different direction here. It's not working. Plain and
So,
simple.
okay, I understand that.
Now,
So-
there's a lot of people in this room, okay? This room, if there were that many people, there's 23,000 residents that we are looking to serve, okay? And we are seeing a small percentage of people that are dissatisfied with what we are doing here this evening. A small percentage of what it is. It's like, so it just tells me that we're doing the right thing.
You know what, I love people's thoughts on the next move. If anybody would love to participate in that and give us your suggestions in moving forward.
To be honest, I am not interested in the other programs. My kids are all old. They use the fitness center from when they've been able to. I'm not going to give you my feelings about it because it's not going to change anything. I wish you guys luck, and at least thank you for hearing me.
Steve Taggart, 1215 Sugarberry Lane. Just one question to begin with. Can we get copies of the slides? Will they be put on the township's website?
I just finished them at 6 o'clock tonight, so
Okay.
I'll make sure you do.
One of the first slides or second slides was all about the dollars, and then Mr. Pearson, you said that this has nothing to do with the money. This
I
has
didn't say it had nothing to do with the money.
One of the first comments was
I said, I
this-
didn't say it had nothing to do with the money. I said that's not the main reason.
Right. And one of the main reasons, in the first or second slide, was that the ROI doesn't do it for you. Well, townships aren't about an ROI. I'm sorry, they're not about an ROI. They're about serving the residents.
That's correct. And the money, it's not about the money, but being fiscally responsible is, okay? So we understand that recreation is always going to be a loss, okay? It'll always be an expense to the township, and we understand that. But we have to determine on what's best, how much money is best for the township, okay? How much money do you want to put into it?
The costs that were shown, do they include all of the basketball, volleyball, all of those?
We're not doing away with the basketball
But my
court.
question is, do they include the dollars to run the recreation center?
That's correct.
They do add to the revenue.
When this one of the
I get it
slides
now.
stated that this, when the study was originally done to serve 20 to 30% of the residents of the township. That facility wasn't built for 20 to 30% of the residents of the township. You get 10% of the residents of the township in there, you're out of room.
And as I stated earlier, we're not going to spend a lot of marketing money on a facility that is lacking.
So, can I just interject something here? Excuse me a second, please. The study that you referred to, Mr. Tieperman, said that we would only get 4.4% of our residents use the facility. So we're only getting less than 3%, which isn't too bad for the facility that doesn't really suit our needs. Okay, I've been a resident of the township, excuse me, I've been a resident for 38 years here. I was a proponent of building the recreation center. This has moved a lot faster than I anticipated. Okay, I thought we were looking at negotiating the lease and then either a buyout of the lease or something along those lines. I didn't realize until I received a copy of the letter that we were closing the fitness center. And I was a member of this fitness center for many years. So I'd like to put it on the agenda for a vote and decide, you know. This is the first public discussion. This is the first public discussion we've had of this.
Well, we're not putting it on a vote this evening.
No, well, it doesn't have to be this evening.
We're not putting it on a vote this evening.
Not this evening, that's fine.
It's good, it's
Let's
good to
just-
have an open discussion.
One of the comments was that this was all pertained to a letter that we received. None of us received a letter, we all received an email. So I would imagine that a lot of township residents have not read this email, just passed right on by it and didn't pay attention to it. There again, a marketing issue. You're not marketing your product in here. And now, after you're gonna close this, now you're gonna do a survey.
We're not closing this.
You're closing the fitness center. That's what this is all about. You're not gonna have campfires in there, you're not gonna have bus trips in there, right?
No.
But it's a fitness center, it works well as a fitness center. Now, after you close it, now you're gonna do a survey to see what the township residents would like. Maybe it's a little.
It works, you know, I think what you're all missing is it only works for 500 people of 23,000
And what
people.
you're missing is why aren't the 23,000 others coming?
Right, that's right.
They don't know about it.
Exactly.
I'd be hard pressed that, you know, I'm sure that the rest of the residents in this township know about this facility.
They know about it.
For years, I get an email, excuse me, please. I get an email periodically from this facility, okay? So I'm sure that there are a lot of other residents in this township that get an email from this facility.
And now you're gonna get a lot less revenue closing the fitness center that you had, because a lot of the people that go to that fitness center are no longer gonna come to the ring. They're gonna drop membership, or you won't get the silver sneakers. So there's another negative in your budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jerry Prosciutti, 17 Longahere Drive, right across the street. Just a couple of clarifications, not a question. On the $300 and some thousand of expense, how much of that is directly attributed to the fitness center itself?
Rich, help me on this.
According to 2017, all it was, all three.
All of that was recreation center
So
related. Yeah.
the whole expense of this building is just for the fitness center, you're saying?
Not the center.
The fitness center itself, 300 some thousand money. How much of that, right, you have to keep the gym open, you have to keep the lights open, you have to operate this room. The fitness center is this fitness center. How much of the 300 and some thousand is directly attributable to just the fitness center?
That wasn't the calculation we were asked to do, so we didn't redo that.
But I think we would like to know that.
That's a good question. We'll get back to you on that.
Secondly, on the revenue, 87,000 of revenue roughly coming in. How much of that is directly attributable just to the fitness center versus the other program?
Jen, can you address that? That's all membership fees, am I correct?
It is not, no. That includes any gym rentals, any room rentals.
Okay.
That's all of the income that comes from the recreation center.
So I'd like to see that breakout between the fitness center itself versus everything else. Okay. I agree. this is, from a financial perspective, this doesn't make a ton of sense. And I question whether, even with marketing, which I don't believe has been adequate, I still question whether you even get to 5% utilization from the whole 23,000. In fact, I don't think 23,000 people, you get 10% of that population that actually exercises.
Yeah.
I mean, I go to Lowe's and I can guarantee you that you're not getting more than 100% of people exercising. But, so I think your metric of utilization might be a little bit off. You know, trying to measure, if you're expecting to get, 15, 20% of the community utilizing this facility for something of which you have no clue what that would be yet, I think you're premature in closing down the only revenue component, or I shouldn't say the only until you get the numbers. I'm guessing that if you take away the fitness center, your revenue, that 87,000 is going to significantly drop.
Just to restate the revenue for the facilities, we bring in around $87,000 as our revenue. Our total expenses are $350,000. So that's the shortfall that prompted us to really look at going into a different direction.
I agree. I don't think you'll ever close that gap with a facility like this, unless you do some other things potentially. So, and some ideas. The hockey rink, complete waste of money, in my opinion. It's never utilized. It attracts not people that I would want to have coming around there, in my opinion. So, I know I pay a fortune for my wife to play tennis, and there's not many. I know that there's tennis or by the thing, but you had tennis here as well, and you should charge for some of these memberships, or expand the membership to include a tennis membership, and put a potentially tennis facility in there, or something else that you can use to increase membership. I'm not going to pay for butterfly glasses, or bird watching, or pretty much, I might do something with the gardening, but I don't need to use that room for the gardening.
That was just a sampling of things.
I agree, but it's premature to do away with that when you really, have you surveyed the population?
No. That's in the plan.
I agree.
That's in one of the last.
I think it's a good idea. I think surveys would be a good idea. And if you're surveying, when you survey, you should ask them, what are you interested in, but also what are you willing to pay for? Because if you're looking to offset the cost here, what is your plan to offset the cost? If you're not going to shutter the place, which essentially is what you're doing, in my opinion, if you're closing down the fitness center, what is it that you're possibly going to do here that you can say today that will change the financials at all for the better? So until you have some empirical evidence that says, if we do this program, we might bring in this. Or if we do this program, we might bring in this amount of revenue. Like, what is it?
Our goal, if I could speak, is that graph up there. We currently have $417,000, which primarily is targeted to 2% of our residents. Our goal is to reallocate them. We're not trying to get rid of that money, but reallocate that so it permeates a greater percentage of our township demographic. That's our goal.
So it's not a revenue play then? It's really a utilization play?
That's correct.
Okay, so until you have some evidence that you're going to be able to utilize the facility or get that utilization up to 15, 20%, which I am very skeptical of, why do anything?
We're looking, if I could, we're looking at not only focusing on this facility, but focusing on activities and programs in all of our parks. What we've been trying to say is a lot of our focus has been in this facility. What we're trying to do is branch out and make sure we have a recreation programming presence in all of our parks. And also partnering with, we didn't delve in this in a lot of detail, but partnering more with our county parks and recreation. We have an enormous resource of a county park system that's underutilized from our perspective, and we want to work on that. We want to use that. We want to leverage that $417,000 to attract more people, rather than focusing on a fitness component, which we feel is there's a market saturation for that.
That 15, 20% to this facility?
Not necessarily. This facility. What we want to do is open up the doors where you don't have this, where you're not having a membership, where you have to have a membership to come in here. We're trying to get rid of the membership function, so it's more. Yeah. We're looking at doing more fee-based programs that are more economical, and that's the direction we're trying to go in.
But until you can validate that you're going to be able to make some money from those fee-based programs to increase the utilization, I think you're premature.
We're really not looking at making money. We're looking at, we can have we can take a small loss in some of these programs. The shortfall that we talked about earlier, about close to $1,000 per person, that's unsustainable, and that's what we're trying to address, and that's why.
Sustainable in a township of our wealth, that's number one. Two, I would want to see the cost breakout that says how much you're actually going to save by closing just that fitness center up to $306,000. That's really what it comes down to. And I think
We're not trying to cut costs. We're trying to apply the budget to attract more programs. We can have.
Final thought. Have you considered partnering with a private sector type thing, like in Orange Theory? So instead of having them.
Yes. The answer to that is yes. And this one lady who talked about Silver Sneakers, a lot of these programs have Silver Sneakers programs. So, if there's programs, there's a lady up here that says she really likes her program. Brian and I have already started a dialogue with some of our private sector competitors. We really don't want to be in competition with them. We would rather partner with them in offering some programs.
It's a great idea, but if you put something like an Orange Theory in, and you marry that with some nutritional type thing, that a nutritionist doesn't need a lot of space to work with, and you add that to the membership, because frankly, I could use some of that. Bolting on to the facility, I think, is to enhance the fitness experience, to make it a total wellness center. To me, it makes a little bit more sense, and you probably get some utilization. I don't think any of the programming you discussed so far is going to get you past 5%, let alone 15 to 20%.
Well, right now we're at 2%. So.
2.9. Maybe a little marketing we can get to 3, 3.5. But again, I think I would ask that you do some due diligence before you decide to make that decision to close it. Because frankly, I think 2 or 3 years from now we're going to be here, and your utilization numbers are going to be as bad as they are today, and the financials are going to be not too much different, because I still guess that heating this place and keeping it open is a fair amount of the expense beyond just the fitness equipment.
It's not just about the money, it's about the it's about getting more people to utilize the facility.
I understand. Utilization is your number one metric right now.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard anything in the planning that is going to benefit that. In fact, I think 2.9% is going to go down to maybe 1%, because I know I won't be a member here or utilize this facility, based on what you've said so far. It's just a fact.
Thank you.
Is your name Jerry?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to keep in touch.
17 Lockgate. Knock on the door. We don't allow soliciting, but you're welcome to come visit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ruben Sinti from 1356 Black Rock Road, and I have a couple of questions in your presentation. One is, you want to get to 15-20% based on what the market is for the private sector. You said that during your presentation. However, they spend money on advertising and marketing, and we don't. So how is that number valued at all? Doesn't make any sense. Second, in your presentation, you say you had no programs for kids under 18. That is either misconception or lack. Because I know I've worked the volleyball camps. They are seasonal. It's not even a camp. We have sessions from November to April that we do. We had 17 kids show up to volleyball. We have the basketball also brings a ton of little kids. So there's programs there that you are. Someone did not put them in your presentation.
And just to reemphasize, point 4 in our identifying challenges and barriers was marketing. We recognize we need to do better marketing.
So also going back to what the gentleman before I said, it seems like there was not a cost analysis done exactly on what the closing the gym will do. If you only keep a third of the aerobic equipment you have, how much that lowers the cost of the lease. That, since we don't separate one from the other, we don't know what that's going to happen.
Again, it's not a cost issue. We're getting back. It's a utilization issue.
Here's what it is. The
What's that?
Staffing
Staffing costs was
So the ones you trying to get rid of is not even the number one budget item. So why don't you do cost analysis on what it would do to keep the fitness centers as you have it, but just cut down on the lease equipment, because you own the majority of the equipment. So also, there has been zero clue on what you're gonna do with that room. It's not like you can do any of the programs. By the way, I agree with a lot of the programs and some of the other stuff we can do. However, they're not mutually exclusive to having a fitness center.
Again, this is why we're, just so you know, this is why we're having the discussion in June, because our budget process doesn't start until September.
It really wasn't
So,
a discussion. It was an announcement. So there was no discussion with the membership at all. It was just announced that this is gonna happen. And you know, as taxpayer people and people that I've been members since the beginning of this, and I volunteer my time to this place, I would hate to see that place closed. Just because you wanna save a couple bucks here and there. And don't tell me it's not about the money, because it is. It is.
It's partially about the money, you're
There you
right.
go. No, you know what?
It's partially about the money.
You should actually
But
keep
it's
this very
about,
straight.
but it's partially about, it's always about the money. No matter what you're dealing with, as far as the government is concerned, it's partially about the money.
And I agree.
But it's more about, it is more about getting more people to utilize this facility.
But that's the problem that you're doing. You're not fixing the actual problem that you have. The problem that you have is like nobody knows about this place.
Okay,
And I tell
okay.
you, I'm the biggest evangelist for this place.
Okay,
I love the gym. I use it all the time. So you have to do a better job of getting people to know this place. People on Monroe Limerick know nothing about this place. Unless you drive 113, you don't know about this place. So why don't we fix that before we make a decision on cutting something off for no reason?
Well, we have our reasons.
No, really, you don't. You just have.
If you have any other comments, please make them, and let somebody else come up and
Sure,
make their
man.
comments.
We need to make sure that this is a cost-effective measure, that what you're trying to do is what you're going to get after you do this. So far, you have not shown that that is the case. So it would be irresponsible for you to do this, to announce a closing without actually doing the cost analysis of what that's gonna do. It's borderline irresponsible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Grasso, 116 Fairfield Circle East. I'm also the Homeowners Association president for Providence Corner community. It's 188 units across from Pope John Paul Catholic High School. I moved into the neighborhood in 2012. I can tell you that 200 people around me do not know that this place exists. We're just learning about it 6 years later. So from a marketing standpoint, just to kind of let you know, I mean, obviously I haven't done a lot of fitness yet, but I would like to. And I think that's thank you.
I've listened, and it
Your
sort of
name and
sounds,
address, please.
again, I did it already, but I'm glad to give it to you again. Karen Vogel, 19 Argyle Lane in Oaks. I've heard that it's money, and I've heard that it's utilization. Both of those problems can be remedied. The cost can be brought down by perhaps taking out a little bit of equipment and perhaps also raising the amount of money that people pay somewhat to defray costs. As far as utilization is concerned, the marketing has been absent completely. So I think that perhaps some of the problems, perhaps all of the problems that you all have raised can be remedied. But I think that the mission of this township, as I had stated earlier, should be the health and welfare of its inhabitants. And I would encourage you to not hurry to close that, but to find ways to make it successful. Thank you.
Take one more comment, if anybody would like to. Sir, you've already had your turn, let somebody else.
Sorry, so did others. Tom Jenzerski, 4 Buckthorn Lane, just to be appropriate. And I have a suggestion, not a comment. My suggestion is you have this facility, you're building additional facilities on Black Rock Road. You mentioned the old Township Hall. New ideas that you have for programs to draw more of our township to participate, 15 to 20%. Why aren't they just added? Keep the fitness center and migrate those other things into the program.
Thank you.
And that was a suggestion, but do it.
I'd like to thank you all for your comments. Sir, one more, by all means. By all means.
Paul Kupferschmidt, 979 2nd Avenue. I had a lot of questions. I guess I can't ask them, but you can see my response, my questions in the petition.
You can ask the question, doesn't necessarily mean that we have an answer for you. By all means.
I couldn't ask a question, so.
Sure.
Anyways, I've been a member here for about 6 years, and I can tell you that the best kept secret of Upper Providence is that rec center, that weight room. I'm telling you right now. And you people ought to listen to us because we're the taxpayer paying your salary, right? Yeah. Okay? You vote you people in, you ought to listen, because there's a lot of people that are getting pissed off right now about this whole process. There's no doubt about it. As far as I can tell, it's basically written on your statement of your website that you guys have duties and responsibilities, right? To the taxpayers of this community. And I don't think that you guys did due diligence when it came to notifying us of this process. It was low key and late manner in which you did it. It was almost disguised basically because you didn't send out a letter to us as the members of this gym. You sent out an email, which many people don't see very often, right? So this process is flawed in my view because you haven't done that process correctly. As well as I have a lot of ideas which you can read on this in terms of advancing this gym and this whole community process here. One thing for the marketing piece, why don't you guys put a package together and give it to the developers? You're constantly giving developers here, right?
Real estate.
Real estate, big time. You can put a little package together, give it to them, and they can give it out to the people who come to check out the homes. Yeah. You know, there's lots of people. People who live across the street here don't even know about this place. It's a shame. Anyways, if you want, you can read what I wrote.
Sir, do you have those questions in writing? I'd be happy to take a look at them and get back to you.
Anyways, thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. I'll take one more question, please.
Thanks for this. I'll keep it to 2 minutes.
Sure.
David Moyer, 33 Sheffield Court. Live in a community with 63 homes. I know 45 of those families on a first name basis. None of them know about this facility until I brought it up. Several of them have said that they would join the facility once their current memberships at LA Fitness or Rascals or somebody like that, some facilities like that ended, they would join here. You talked about, Tim, you talked about not competing with gyms and fitness centers, but yet you're going to compete with other education facilities. And you have Ursinus and Springford, and all of the other communities, education programs here. At last count, there was over 525 of those education facilities, many of which you were talking about. And I get that they're ideas, but if you're going to do something like that in an additive way, I would do a survey on what's out there now with all of those and see how you differentiate yourself from those.
Yeah. One thing I did recommend in the tasks is that we do need to do a quantified survey. Random sample, not just one of those, you get a free thing if you do the survey, an actual accurate survey so we have a good gauge. So that's a good comment.
And as far as the cost analysis that another guy brought up, I've been in business for a very long time, and when we do joint ventures or when we get into ventures, we get really detailed on the cost analysis, not being able to know how much the cost for the fitness center is for the other, compared to the whole facility is inexcusable. I'm not sure how you would do that. because you're adding one small portion of it and the membership for the overall piece of the fitness center. I mean, that's how the federal government comes up with $900 hammers and those kinds of things. So I would recommend that it is a detailed description of those costs. Some opportunities, if you continue and do the marketing, my son has been involved with Upper Providence Little League. We were talking about strength training. There's 500 kids down there, 750 kids.
Yeah.
About 200 of them would probably be interested in strength training at the Upper Providence sponsored fitness center. There's another 2,500 kids at Chestnut soccer. Another 1,000 over at Springford. So the people are there in this community to support this. If you're worried about costs, you just target market those and not just build something and expect them to come. So, thanks.
Thank you. Just one more suggestion, 10 seconds. One possible idea is to go out to the membership that you do have and see if anyone will be willing, and I know I would personally be willing to possibly buy one piece of equipment just so I don't have to have it in my house, so I can come here and use it, but there might be a couple others that would be potentially willing to donate some of the fitness equipment to reduce the expense, help subsidize the whole thing. Just another idea.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We will take it all under advisement. Who knows what could happen? But thank you for your comments. Thank you for your questions. We'll do what we can. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick process question if I come up?
I'm done. We're done with questions and answers.
No, process of the overall board, because I don't understand how the board works. Is that about what I should ask now, or do I have to wait till the end of the meeting? I'll wait till the end of the meeting.
We're not taking any action on this evening.
No, but what is the follow-up? So in general, and I don't know, forgive me, I'm slow. I haven't been to a lot of these meetings. I don't follow a lot of local politics. What I would like to understand is what is the follow-up of this meeting? Will we see a list of minutes? Will we see a list of action items? And when can we come back if we have any concerns?
You can come back at every township board meeting.
So we can come back to the next
You
meeting?
can come back at the next board meeting and say, hey, what's going on? Have you guys done anything? You can come in and ask questions and citizens' comments if it doesn't happen to be on the agenda. By all means, and if it means that much to you, by all means, come back.
No, I want to get involved more. It's my political right. So how do I get a list of the meeting minutes from this evening's meeting?
They're on the website.
And when are they posted? How far after the meeting are they posted?
They're posted on the website.
And you know,
One meeting back because they have to get approved at the next meeting, then they get loaded.
So we will not see the outcome of this meeting until the next meeting.
Well, there's no outcome because there's no
Well,
action.
I'm sorry, I will not be.
The minutes will be available after the next meeting and they're voted on.
So our time to be able to follow up on those meeting minutes is going to slow down. Just so I understand the timeline that you're working with. So, but I can ask next
Require
time.
a vote by law, so it
I
necessarily
understand that.
takes 30
I'm on
days.
other committees where we vote and do things. I'd just like to know when I, as a citizen, can see the official meeting minutes and then put comments out against
After
them.
the next meeting.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, moving right along. Consider a recommendation from the Executive Steering Committee on Fire Services to grant the Black Rock Volunteer Fire Company a fee waiver for minor mechanical and electrical alterations to the Oaks Station.
Tim and I have started meeting regularly with Joe Locasal from the fire company. In doing so, the fire company's proposed some work in a space of their main station on Green Tree Road. They're proposing 2 drops for electrical power and some minor modifications to the mechanical equipment there to provide supply and return air. This all being consistent with the resolution the board adopted to have some of the township's career staff move down there and respond from the Oak Station. So the fire company is essentially asking for a fee waiver from the board. We will be issuing a building permit, and we never waive the fees for a building permit unless we bring it before the Board of Supervisors for your authorization.
Anybody have any questions on that? Any comments on that?
Can we just, they're moving ahead, I guess, with quarters, and It just, I thought we were going to get a report, tell us what's going on down there, and they're just moving forward, is that it?
We can update you, every 2 weeks or however frequently Tim puts something out to the board. We can make sure we include that in the report to the board, but at this point, we've been trying to follow, to the greatest extent possible, the action items outlined in that resolution, and moving the career staff down there was part of it. BlackRock's willing to accommodate them with some minor modifications that resulted in the need for this building permit.
Any other questions? Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to make a motion to authorize the recommendation from the Executive Steering Committee on Fire Services to grant the BlackRock Volunteer Fire Company a fee waiver for minor mechanical and electrical alterations to the Oak Station.
I'll second.
I have a motion, recommendation from the Executive Steering Committee on Fire Services to grant the BlackRock Volunteer Fire Company a fee waiver. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Number 6, consider adoption of Resolution 2018-39, authorizing a design proposal for the replacement of the Ashenfelder Road Bridge and a capital budget amendment to fund the project. Who Bill?
Thank you. During the recent, I guess is the best way to say it, storm events, I think from the end of Memorial Day through here early June. Speak up, Bill.
That's on.
Okay, sorry. Okay. The township experienced some significant erosion down at the Ashenfelder Bridge, and Tom had us go out and look at that, and we've come up with a proposal. This is one of the bridges that was identified as a deficient bridge in your 2016 capital improvements program. And so we put together a proposal to move forward with a design effort to study of alternatives and a design effort to go out to bid for that project if you'd like to move forward with that.
Is the proposal in our packet?
It's in the Dropbox.
It did not make it into the packet, Mr. Brennan.
It's not in there.
We want to,
What are we missing, the proposal?
the proposal did not make it up to the upload.
Okay, it is in the Dropbox.
Yeah, it's in the Dropbox.
It's in the Dropbox.
It's $119,850 just to do the design, is that it?
Correct. That includes the survey work, the environmental studies, the preliminary design, alternative study, feasibility study for alternatives, and the final design and preparation of bid specs and bid documents. It does not include construction observation, construction administration. It doesn't include like soil borings. Easements, if necessary, doesn't include preparation of the easement documents.
Is it your intention or hope that it'll straighten out that curve in the road at the same time?
I think you have some significant challenges with that. I don't believe there's going to be a lot of improvement unless you were able to skew that arrangement and lengthen the bridge structure itself significantly. Now that's going to add significant cost for the final construction. So the intent would be to place it back as close as practical to its original condition with some safety improvements on the approaches.
How much, just off the top of your head, what are we looking at cost-wise?
I think you're looking at between $400,000 and $500,000 by the time you're done.
For that little bridge? Oh, my God.
That's what that type of bridge is going to go for.
Do we know the traffic count on Ashenfelder?
Tom?
They were higher than I expected. The police department ran the force on a weekday, a normal weekday, and they were somewhere just under 2,000 cars a day.
How many?
2,000.
Well,
2,000 a day.
Now, they were as low as 400 or 300 on other days, but we had some peak days of up to between 1,000.
When did you do the traffic counts?
Last late summer of last year.
All right, so how long can a cul-de-sac be?
You thought about that.
Well,
That was the
you know,
first thing that came up.
It's
a year and a half ago
it's allocation
was
of
to
resources.
eliminate that
I mean,
bridge.
2,000 cars can go Troutman Road, and they can go all the way out the other ways. But to spend $600,000, is it out of the realm of reality to have two dead ends there? Just asking the
That
question.
little bit. We looked at that analysis, I don't know, a year ago, was it?
Yeah.
Well, when we did the 2016 capital projects.
It would be a long,
You can speak to that in
it would be a long cul-de-sac coming
It's a
down
long
for the
one.
Troutman Road for those residences down there.
The concern is emergency services. I don't recall exactly what the ordinance requirement is, the ordinance limitation is for lengths of cul-de-sacs. but
600 feet.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
much longer
Just
than
threw it
600
out
feet.
there.
So our concern is just emergency services, and if there's some fire or some ambulance that needs to go all the way back there, it's going to take an extended period of time.
Well,
to-
you know, the point here is that, the point I'm trying to make is we have these things happen. We had the sinkhole down on Cider Mill. We have this, and we have other things that are going to start popping up that we need to accrue for. Plus, we have intersections. I'll mention Hopwood and 29 again. We have intersections that need to be fixed, and we're not prepared to do any of it. We're not, and because we haven't. So we have an Act 209 study. Thank you. And we've started to raise a couple dollars, but it's not going to solve the problem right away. But it is what it is.
Mr. Chairman, it's not time sensitive to act on this tonight, so what I'd like to do is get the proposal out to everybody, and we can discuss this at our next
Okay.
meeting in July, if that's okay.
It's fine.
Do we want him to come up with at least a design with a cost estimate so that we know what we're looking at for budgetary reasons in September and October for that project? That's,
Yeah. And
or if we decide we're not
Break
going to
out
do it, and what
the
to call it.
study feasibility phase you're talking about.
Mhm.
Just a very preliminary sketch type of arrangement.
Yeah.
I think, again, you're gonna see the $400,000 to $500,000 into construction costs. Fairly confident you're gonna be in that range.
Yeah. Maybe I can get a couple
Refine
guys
it a little
on the
bit,
weekend.
fine tune it, but I don't think you're gonna see a surprise that it's gonna cost you $50,000.
Oh, no.
And I think that number was in your infrastructure study that was already.
I believe that was originally, yes. Yes. I think you really look at that type of number magnitude, so I don't know, it's spending even $5,000 to do another study is, it might tell you it's 430 instead of 450, you know, that type of thing, but it's not.
That's a lot of
It's
money.
not gonna give you a magic answer.
That's a crazy amount of money for a little bridge.
I just think for budgetary reasons, we ought to have, a reasonable number that we know what we're dealing with for budget time.
Can't we just put a couple of those steel plates across it and say,
Something similar to yours.
hey, maybe we get the Army Corps of Engineer to bring in one of those fold-out bridges and we're good to go. Okay, well, then Tim's suggestion, maybe we'll table this, and you'll get us what we need. Okay, consider resolution, oh no, I'm sorry. Manager's report. Manager and department head reports. Manager highlights.
I don't have any highlight report tonight. The only thing I want to bring your attention to, and I'll get you some correspondence, that pertains to the Taylor structures. And we have a letter from our liability carrier giving us kind of a time frame in which they would like us to get back to them with a plan of action. I initially had this on the agenda tonight, but I'm kind of glad I took it off.
Okay.
But it's something we should probably discuss at a future meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Consultant reports, Linfield Trap Road, Township Line Road intersection.
I can take that. We've partnered with Limerick Township to apply for a grant to improve the intersection at Linfield Trap Road and Township Line Road. Rouse Chamberlain, who's completing the Ridgewood development, who has approval from the board through the land development process, as part of that land development approval, has to do something with the intersection. in order to reduce their expenses and put those monies that they would otherwise spend on additional review fees towards road improvements, they've asked to allow Ken's firm, McMahon and Associates, who is the township's traffic engineer, to design the intersection. Rouse Chamberlain would pay for their work, but McMahon and Associates would do the design. There's obviously an inherent conflict because Ken would typically review it. However, instead of having Rouse Chamberlain hire a traffic planning design or another traffic engineer and paying them the expense to design those improvements and then paying Ken on the township's behalf to review the improvements, they've asked permission and we're asking the board to consider authorizing Ken to participate in both preparing those plans and in effect have his office review them on behalf of the township. So we're bringing this to the board's attention because there's an inherent conflict, and at the staff level, we certainly wouldn't bless an arrangement like that because it is certainly atypical. But in this case, obviously every dollar that goes into road improvements, we all benefit from. So we're asking the board to consider that action tonight.
Got it. So we benefit. The township benefits by doing this.
We benefit by getting more bang for our buck out of Rouse Chamberlain, so to speak, because more dollars will go into roadway improvements instead of plan design and then review of those same plans.
Okay.
We've done this in the past. I think, was it with Charlie's?
Wasteman Planning Group, yeah.
Wasteman Planning Group, we did it. And then if we felt the need to have somebody else review it, an independent, we went there, but I don't think we ever did with Charlie.
Do we need to make a motion on this?
I'd ask that you would. I think that's appropriate.
Is that appropriate? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we authorize McMahon and Associates to develop a plan and traffic study for the Linfield Trap Road, Township Line Road intersection that is being funded by Ridgewood Development Company, Rouse Chamberlain.
Second that?
I have a motion and a second to authorize McMahon to do both the proposal, both the, how do I want?
Design and review.
I want to make sure I get this right, that the McMahon, please help me out here.
The appropriate motion would be to authorize McMahon and Associates to do the design for Linfield Trap Road and Township Line Road improvements on behalf of Rouse Chamberlain.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. I'm sorry,
Can I ask a question on that?
by all means. It's after the motion, it's already been passed, so.
I understand, I'm just looking for clarification.
Fine.
Again, Tom Grasso, 116 Fairfield Circle East. It's my understanding that the development that I live in was part of the Linfield Trap Road and Township Line Road redesign, and that the builder who built our development was supposed to be doing the work to redo that intersection, is that correct?
Right, and instead they escrowed some money through a tri-party agreement with a bank in the amount of $352,000. And we're currently in the process of negotiating with the bank, who seems to have misplaced the money. However,
As I understand it, not only did the builder mess with you guys, but they also messed with us as well, so we're trying to make sure that...
at the end of the day, I have a tri-party agreement in hand between us, the developer, and the bank that says the bank will hold $352,000, and I can come knock on the door and say, give me the money, I'm going to use it for road improvements at Township Line and Linfield Trap Road.
I just want to make sure it's also not commingled with any of the bond issues that have to do with finishing up our... 'cause it was
No,
done
the-
in
the
same
improvement
land
escrow-
development- I think it was done in the same land development agreement.
The improvement escrow is
Oh,
completely
two
separate.
escrows in the
Two
same
separate,
account.
two separate accounts.
Black Rock Trail update.
Thank you. As I believe you're all aware, we designed the Black Rock Road Trail from Route 29 north to the township property. That trail has been approved by PennDOT. We are making some final tweaks to that plan based on the recent construction of the ADA ramps as part of the township property improvements. We are in the process of preparing a bid package for the trail. I know I didn't talk to Tim, but it might be appropriate now to get authorization from the board to advertise that bid package. If we do get that authorization tonight, we would anticipate being able to complete that bid package and upload it to Penn Bid by your next meeting, which would be July 2nd. Having a bid opening at the end of July. Getting notice of award at the August meeting, and then hopefully getting completion of the whole project by the end of the year.
I would enthusiastically make that recommendation.
Enthusiastically?
Do you anticipate what the cost of that trail is going to be? We've already got all the right-of-way now, right?
Yes, our latest estimate, I apologize, I don't have it with me, but our latest cost estimate was slightly less than what we anticipated in the grant application itself.
Okay.
Can that go across 29?
The GSK improvement is going up to Route 29. They're doing the crosswalks across Route 29 with the ADA ramps at the Route 29 intersection. So we are going to Route 29 and the ADA ramps are there.
Very close to being able to cross
Correct.
29.
Good.
The plan is, yes, to tie this improvement into the GSK improvement, so you can go all the way from the township property all the way down to Troutman Road.
Except, do you know what, can you give us an update where that is, Bill? The wetland piece.
There's a 2-week constant notice that goes out to Pete Anderson, through GSK, to ask him what the status is, and he always says it's down at the Army Corps of Engineers, so I did send that email this afternoon before I came to the meeting, again to Pete, to ask him what the status was. But it's been a permitting issue for the wetland crossing, is what it is.
So it's still waiting permits.
Yes, he's been told verbally that, it's there, but he hasn't received it.
Okay.
That's the piece that's been sitting open for all of this time.
Correct. It's about 150 feet, I think, across from Freeland Village.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for authorizing the bid package for the trail on north of 29.
I'll make a motion that we approve the advertisement and the preparation of a bid package for the Black Rock Road Trail from 29 to the township property.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to authorize bid package for trails at 29 and Black Rock Road. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Solicitor's report.
The litigation that was just discussed a minute ago regarding the bank is proceeding productively. I am formally adding the builder as a party to the suit unless we can negotiate something in the next couple of weeks, but so I'm not real hopeful that that'll happen, but I think long-term it's still, things are looking positive that those two parties will get together and make something good happen.
So which builder is that? THP or the one that finished the
Well, I
project?
already joined THP before, so I'm adding Hovnanian now.
Hovnanian, okay.
And that's only because under the developer's agreement, it says that we have to make demand for the money upon them, and then technically, and then they have to go take it up with the bank.
Okay.
And the bank is availing themselves of that provision. I originally did not include them in the lawsuit because the bank is the one that had the money and then didn't have the money, so, but technically, the process does include us making demand first on Hovnanian, so when they said they were playing that card, so to speak, I had to abide by that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
This doesn't have anything to do with that necessarily, but that development's not been dedicated yet, is that right?
Correct.
Because
And we're still holding escrow money on the improvement
Yeah.
escrow.
And Jeff will probably be more familiar with this. I got a letter from a resident in Providence, Brenton Point, not Providence Corner, Brenton Point, that the two-tiered retaining wall was never landscaped as it was supposed to be.
Driven by the repeated myself.
Okay, so that's still some outstanding work, I think, needs to be done.
Definitely. I have never
Okay.
inspected that
You gotta-
entire site.
Right, okay, well, I have a real long letter explaining to me that they never
Please
got
forward
it.
it to me just so I can
Okay.
keep it for my records, if you would.
Okay. That's all I had, thank you.
Okay. Any other supervisor comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second that?
I have a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries.
like, do I want to drink or do I want to go to sleep?